Welcome to Heroes of the Dorm Championship 2016. We're broadcasting live from ESPN's Wide World of Sports on Watch ESPN, YouTube, and Twitch. We started with nearly 500 teams across North America, and we are down to 8. Don't go anywhere. This is the fight to make it to Seattle.
These games have been fantastic. Oh my gosh. It's getting low. I don't think they're going to be able to save it in time. Melkor taking a lot of damage here, but Zero goes down. This is it looks like they may have enough damage to actually end this game right now. They are your heroes of the Dorm.
Hello and welcome to Heroes of the Dorm 2016. My name is Tim, Trikslyr Frazier, and joining me is Jaycie, Gillyweed, Gluck. Down there we got SolidJake, Kulinski. How are you doing, Gilly?
Tim, I'm so excited. After today, we are going to know who gets to go to the Heroic Four at Seattle. It's going to be a great day for Heroes.
It's going to be a great day indeed. Over there on the very far left, Jake, how's it going?
Yeah, this is it. We're finally seeing the absolute top teams bringing out their superior strategies at the round of 8.
The round of 8, the Epic 8. It's going to get real today, but before we talk about that, how did we get here? Let's go ahead and figure out exactly how our teams came down. Remember, we did mention that we had over 500 teams sign up for Heroes of the Dorm. We had an online qualifier between February 20th and March 6th. After a few weeks, we went to the bracket play. This is currently where we are at. March 19th all the way through April 3rd. We are in the Epic 8 today, but we will be having the Heroic 4 on April 9th and April 10th in Seattle. It's going to be a great event. We can't wait to see all that fun stuff. But if you missed yesterday's action, the Super 16 was electrifying. Let's go ahead and look at the highlights from yesterday.
First up, Johns Hopkins versus Boston College. In both games, Boston came out very aggressive with early kills, objectives, bosses, and fort takedowns. Boston also denied Johns Hopkins from getting any web weavers in the first game and any tributes in the second game, leading them to a very dominant and convincing 2-0 victory in the round of 16 and advancing all the way into our round of 8. Our second matchup is UT Arlington versus Carleton. UTA busted out a Cho'Gall strat on game number 1 here on Tomb of the Spider Queen, quickly dismantling their opponents with heavy aggression throughout the game. But moving into game number 2, we saw a murky pick by Ember Collegiate Carleton, but it wasn't quite enough, as we saw UTA take a decisive 2-0 victory. The next matchup is UC Irvine versus Washington. We had another 2-0 victory with powerful Lunara play in game number 1, really bringing on the damage that Uther could just simply not heal through. But moving into game number 2, we saw UC Irvine busting out a first pick on the Lost Vikings. Although this kind of threw off Washington in the early game, in the end, it wasn't enough in a 2-0 victory for Washington. In our fourth match, we had LSU versus Tennessee, and Tennessee came out hot in game number 1. But in game number 2, we saw LSU turn things around with the power of ETC, Whitballa, and the massive power of Reign of Vengeance. But at the end of the day, it was Tennessee that closed it out in a 2-1 victory to advance to the round of 8. Match 5, UConn versus Ohio State. UConn came out with their very patient play, waiting for their opponents to make a mistake, and that's what they did. Massive Maw follow-up into that mosh pit to land the big plays. They utilized the Dragonite in the extreme late game to bait their opponents out of their base and secure themselves the ultimate Wombo Combo victory. In the end, they will advance 2-0 into the round of 8. Our sixth matchup was between East Carolina and Minnesota. East Carolina won the first game, but Minnesota brought it back in game number 2. That means our third matchup was on Battlefield of Eternity, but this is when East Carolina turned up the heat. They brought the pain, they brought the aggression, and in the end, they were the ones to advance on in to the round of 8. In match number 7, ASU comes out versus UPenn with some dominant play. The number 1 seeded team in this tournament in second place from last year showed exactly why they are so well respected and so commonly feared. After a 2-0 sweep, they will be moving on into the round of 8. The final match of the evening was San Jose versus Cal Berkeley. Game number 1 was incredibly even, and we saw some great plays by San Jose. But a turnaround happened here at Stitches with Putrid Bile, and the chain bomb of Kale Foss turned the tide in favor of Cal Berkeley. They used this momentum to carry it into game number 2 and take the series 2-0.
The Super 16 had so many great matches. It was certainly fun to watch. I actually want to know what you guys enjoyed the best. Jaycie, yesterday, favorite match?
So I had a lot of fun with Ohio State versus UConn. I thought we got to see the power of an underdog because Ohio State knew what they needed to do. They just weren't quite there with UConn. And then I had a lot of fun as well with Minnesota versus East Carolina. Just so back and forth was that match, and it was fun to actually get to commentate a 3-game series.
Jaycie Poo, how about you?
Jaycie Poo. All right, well, honestly, just the diverse drafts and the unique styles we saw across the board. Seeing things like first pick lost Vikings being pulled out here in the round of 16. I don't know what kind of crazy strats they have saved for the round of 8, but I'm sure it's going to be intense.
All right, we're here with the Epic 8, and it will be intense. Let's look at the brackets to find out who you guys will be watching today. Washington versus Tennessee in the top left there for the A bracket. And the bottom left for B, we have UT Arlington versus Boston College. And the top right, this is the match that we'll be looking at first here, will be UConn versus Cal Berkeley. And on the bottom right, Arizona State versus East Carolina. UConn versus Berkeley. This is what we're going over today. Are you guys ready for it?
Oh, I am so ready.
Am I ready?
I think he's ready.
How can
I can't see his
ask
face right
that?
now, but he is so ready for it. So give me the lowdown, UConn. What it's all about.
All right, so UConn specifically, this is a team, we see average game length, and a lot of times when we have these very strong teams, the average game length is pretty short. But as we saw yesterday, this is a team that prefers just methodically winning a game, getting whatever the advantages they can, small advantages that eventually just catapult into a victory. And Ohio State knew what they needed to do versus them. It just wasn't quite enough. And that's, I hear that we might be seeing a little bit of different play come out of them, Jake.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Dan Lee for 3 a little bit last night, and he's just stating, they realized their drafts were a little bit too passive. They weren't drafting for enough lane clear in general, and they're going to be looking to correct those mistakes coming into today. Now, they've played great. They haven't lost a single game yet in this tournament, but there's still some opportunities where they're not necessarily min-maxing and getting the optimal value out of their advantages.
We'll have to see if Cal Berkeley can take any type of advantages against this team because they are a very, very strong team. But let's look at the rosters real quick for UConn. Here is the team and their lineup. Monkey Lamps, Dan Lee for 3, Battle Size, Torino, and then there on the very right, Suryu, who is hitting the legendary Devouring Mauls yesterday. Hit a couple of really cool playmakers that you saw posted around the internet. So yeah, this team is looking very powerful, and again, they are really moving through the competition, and you can see their strength. Now on the other side, Cal Berkeley is a team that I'm a little worried about. They seemed a little bit shaky yesterday.
Yeah.
You can see UConn here. This is the mall we were talking about, absolutely destroying. They have to deal with this. And Cal Berkeley, I saw them grouping up a lot in their matches today, which means Devouring Mauls, Mosh Pits, and those types of AoE heroics can be very powerful.
So here we see a Cal Berkeley, and yeah, I would agree that they looked pretty shaky yesterday. When we talked to Taeyeon, or actually you guys were talking to Taeyeon afterward too, especially with the first game, they said that they were very nervous, and under the circumstances where you think you're out, you come back in, you really want to make sure that you're proving that you deserve to be here, you can see where that nervousness would come in.
And it's beyond that. It's the pressure of last year's team being the reigning champions.
Sure.
They have this added pressure to uphold that title for the school, and it makes it very difficult coming in. But you know what? Game number 1, they look shaky. But they shook it off. They shook it off. They brought it together really after that play we just saw there, and they carried that momentum into game number 2. They look so much more confident in the second game, and if they can play like that here in this tournament versus UConn, I definitely think they have what it takes to go against the number 1 seed of the East.
Well, good news for UConn. UConn and Cal Berkeley. The first battleground will be Dragonshire. Now, if Cal Berkeley can bring out guns firing in the very, very beginning, we've seen UConn take the game to the very late stages. But if they can get in the early game, take control of it, they can totally break down UConn. So Cal Berkeley, see what you can do here. Let's go ahead and check out the drafts here and see what we'll be picking up for this battleground.
Alrighty, well, Dragonshire, of course, this is your standard tri-lane map, one of the oldest maps in competitive Heroes of the Storm. And like you said, the average game length tends to go a little bit longer here. Teams like to play safe. They have to be worried about those constant rotations that do happen. And with ETC and Zool both being banned out, I expect to see early Thrall, Zagara, or even Falstad.
I love the ETC ban, because if there's one thing that I've been noticing from UConn is that they can land those mosh pits.
Bato sees he is
ridiculous.
A monster in ETC.
Well, not only that, UConn has 2 players that can play a solid ETC.
Yes.
Certainly for 3M battle, so they can move around and really adapt as they need to. So Thrall will be the first pick for UConn, really trying to lock down that early game in the top lane. And Cal Berkeley now has a chance here to potentially take away the Devouring Maul and
Now,
the Zagara.
if Berkeley has done their research, this will likely be Seryu playing Thrall.
Yeah.
And we saw Seryu having those fantastic maws yesterday, so that might look like a little bit less likely for Zagara, but we do see a lot of Zagara play in Chiruno as well. So, they're probably still going to try to steal it for this first pick.
And there's Sundering right there, that huge heroic you were talking about there, Jake. If you can land those, you can really take out your opponents. We've seen a few really massive Sunderings the last couple of days here in the Heroes of the Dorm. Cal Berkeley will be moving forward to pick up Li Ming here, trying to grab that hero. The hero that, if you have a strong mechanical player on your team, can really work that critical mass in, and Murden will be the second pickup as well. Murden can be great for getting those engagements. It looks like Cal Berkeley may actually want to play a very aggressive front line here.
It makes a lot of sense, too, to grab Murden because they've already banned out a warrior, so they are trying to limit that particular role for UConn. And we'll see if they actually choose to grab the warrior here, knowing that two of the favorite ones have already been taken out. But for now, they're going to get Falstad. They're going to have somebody who is able to fly around the battleground, maybe pick up a shrine, and yeah, they are going to follow up with Johanna, so they really don't want to get banned out too far in that role.
I think that's super smart because I think if Murden wasn't picked up with ETC ban, we definitely would have seen Zagara in that situation. But
yeah,
you're exactly right. If they passed up Johanna here, she would have been banned out by Cal Berkeley, and then they'd be in such a weird spot in terms of the warrior pool left.
Yeah, it's really like most of the teams, like the Murden, Johanna, or ETC, favor those. We do see some of our teams still liking to play like Diablo, that's East Carolina, who bring those in. But for these stable teams, like these are these three stable warriors that we see most often from teams.
Bans will be Rhaegar and Sonya. UConn banning out Sonya makes sense. Murden is often comboed with Sonya just because the front line can be so aggressive. Get to the back line. Sonya brings the damage, Murden brings on the lockdown. So taking out that combo is going to be a little bit hurtful here for Cal Berkeley. They'll be falling up into Uther. Their ban on Rhaegar makes sense as well. Johanna's a little bit hard to kill, so if you actually have to deal with another heal on Johanna, that can be quite a pain. Uther and Zagara will be the choices here for Cal Berkeley.
I have to hand it to Cal. With the ETC ban and then picking up Murden, and then the Rhaegar ban and picking up Uther, they are dictating a lot of these roles in the draft and trying to make sure that they get their first pick constantly in those.
Yeah, they certainly have a top tier hero for every single pool right now. The control, the warrior, the assassin, the support. But what UConn has is a ton of control. They have the Mighty Gust, the Bless Shield Sundering combo has received incredible power throughout this event consistently. And, having Karazim, honestly, that's really not a bad pickup because that's the second most played hero we're seeing on the side of Monkey Lamps.
Karazim brings in a lot of pressure to also the Divine Palms, and if necessary, if Cal Berkeley were to pick up a second warrior here, they could transition to 7-sided strike. Leoric will be the last pick here for UConn, so they do have their own engages as well. They're running double warrior with Karazim, trying to float around and make sure that they keep the teammates Thrall and Falstad alive.
Out of all of our teams in the top 8, I believe UConn is running double warrior more than any other team.
It makes sense. It gives them more control.
Yeah.
Double Warrior screams control to me, and that's what UConn is all about. Controlling the environment, and then when a fight does occur, they get flashy. Yeah,
it's so much more powerful in the late game.
And you have to remember, too, Dragonshire, you get into a lot of skirmishes, so you want some of those heroes who can maybe just sit and tank damage on the shrine holding it, while your team gets into position to be able to grab the Dragon Knight. So being able to have two of those, and two who have good wave clear, as well with Johanna and Leoric, they're going to be looking to push those lanes a lot. But Jaina is going to be grabbed by Cal Berkeley, so they have a double mage composition.
Yeah, Jaina being the last pickup there could be strong. I'm wondering if we're going to see actually Water Elemental over the Ring of Frost we've been seeing from a lot of people because they're running the Devouring Maw into the Ring of Frost combo. But with Water Elemental, you can help slow down that control that UConn does have and really bring down the PL on top of those warriors and really make it work out for you. But again, that is a very micro-intensive build, so you got to stay on point with that.
I also think it depends on the play style of the Jaina. If they want to be a little bit more on the flank side, you can see the Water Ele used a little bit more often because it does give you that additional control in those scenarios. But Ring of Frost is quite powerful with Maw. We've seen that.
That is true. Well, no more delays. Let's get this day started. UConn versus Cal Berkeley. Game number 1 on Dragonshire here on the very far left. Jake, will you do us the honors?
Oh, I would gladly. The UConn Tricky Turtles with Monkey Lamps playing Karazim. Danley for 3 on Johanna. Badosees playing Leoric. We have Falstad on Chiruno. And Seryu will be on the Thrall.
Those one-handed push-ups, man.
Look at them getting that workout in. On the very far right, Jaycie, the honors are yours.
Thank you so much, Tim. We have Cal Berkeley Golden Mishas with Taeyeon playing Jaina, Hampro on Zagara, Overwatcher playing Murden, Lim Visionant playing Uther, and finally, Li Ming will be played by Sage Mode.
Okay, so I know personally I'm watching Cal Berkeley in the first 5 minutes of the game here. I want to see if they have the jitters characters, or if they had the confidence here to take out UConn. And it all will really be read here, especially here in game number 1, on how early they apply their pressure. They're starting to get those creep tumors down. We've seen it often throughout the tournament, so moving around as a unit. Overwatch is watching the back flank. Nice play so far by Berkeley.
That bush is one right above the Dragon Knight, is one where you want to escort Zagara up to put a creep tumor, because that helps make sure that when Zagara goes up to the top, she's not going to get engaged on. You know, people aren't going to move around from the side, try to sneak up on her and catch her out of position and take her out.
Looking down the bottom lane, 3 members will be pushing in here for UConn, trying to deny some experience, but there is a flank here from Berkeley. They are getting aggressive. Leoric will take some damage there. Batto does get hit with a Stormbolt. No more follow-up though, but I like the teeth I'm seeing from Berkeley.
Yeah, they need to do what we heard Ohio State do, right? What they said they wanted to do, which was just disrupt the momentum that UConn wants to pick up as they start to go in. So we'll be looking to see if they're able to do that, but that does mean, like, it's a great point that you made, that they need to just come out with their teeth bared, because it starts right away on Dragonshire.
It does, and I feel like Berkeley has a better end of the rotation here. They're really floating around. We're gonna watch Johanna, Danley for 3, and Badasis here, as they'll be rotating and doing a majority of the clearing here. Falstad will help out with that hammering, but really it's all about the condemn, and then of course Leoric coming in there with this swing, knocking out those minions as they try to get control of this entire area. Both shrines have been grabbed from Berkeley. A possible early dragon could happen. We do have Overwatch attempting it, but the top lane was actually taken over by Thrall, but Zagara has wrestled it back.
She is going to grab it. Jaina is starting to channel it. A great stun goes down onto Leoric, but Monkey Lamps is going to Radiant Dash in and stop the channel long enough for them to wrest back control of the bottom shrine.
Yeah, and you're going to see Berkeley here and just not die. They don't really care that much about the dragon. Getting it would be nice. It's a great addition, but never is a death warranted at this stage in the game. Jake, do you have a point?
Yeah, I just want to point out, I love what Berkeley's doing, being very aggressive against UConn. Since UConn is a team that goes out of their way to really bring it into the late game, the best way to throw them off their comfort zone is to just bring the fight to them as often as you can, and they're doing exactly that.
Break that comfort. For you at home, tweet at Heroes of the Dorm. Let us know who you think will win this match. Vote UConn for UConn, and of course, and vote Cal for Cal Berkeley. All right, so the aggression has occurred here from both teams. Tricky Turtles is now starting to get a footing in this match as they have grabbed the north and the bottom shrine. The dragon is available for the taking, but Overwatch will keep that watched for now.
Cal Berkeley also has the potential to hold that thought. If Truna doesn't get stopped here, Stormbolt will do so. They've got a few members in here, and they are going to grab the bottom shrine. What I wanted to point out is Cal Berkeley with these mages, Jaina specifically grabbing Snowstorm, and then the stuns that they have, they really do have the potential to blow someone up early on if they find somebody out of position in these rotations. So UConn needs to be careful with how they rotate between the lanes while continuing to keep the minions pushed out.
And you see them constantly focusing Batto, who's playing Leoric. And Leoric, although he is a warrior, he doesn't have the highest health foil in the world, so he is actually a very easy target to burst. So I do like this build with Li Ming and Jaina really bringing in that damage quickly, and they can get themselves into a 5v4. But they have to decide immediately after they take out Leoric whether or not they want to cause a full engage and win the entire team fight, because Leoric will spawn relatively quickly.
Yeah, it's such a burst style out of Cal Berkeley. They're going for all that mage damage, which is not really the sustain style. And, you know, considering we have Karazim with double warrior, Thrall with a lot of self-sustain, without all of that, you know, sustained damage, it's going to be difficult to get fights in a long drawn-out scenario.
UConn bringing some aggression as Hampro will get caught there. Shrino does fly up there, and see you brought in the Wolf as well. Nice quick takedown here from UConn, and they will score first blood of the game.
Yeah, they weren't really doing they were keeping up with them, but that's the power of Falstad. The fact that he can always fly in means that Zagara needs to be more careful, and if nothing else, that would at least keep her maybe a little bit more scared, keep the player a bit further back in the lane, knowing that at any point Falstad can come up and make it an instant 2v1.
And I do want to shout out to Zagara there. She was playing super aggressive, and that's fine. You need that kind of firepower, especially against UConn, but you do have to keep an eye on that ever-looming presence of Falstad potentially flying in. Dan Lee for 3 and crew will group up here on the bottom and grab that shrine. This tug of war continues for our teams.
You know, we're actually seeing both hardened with lingering apparition on Leoric, and this is like the hyper sustain, always in your face, very just kind of like Leoric is never leaving me alone type of build.
Right, and they're realizing too that they might just need to be able to tank a lot of those abilities. If they can do so with him being in the Wraithwalk form and being resistant with the Hardened Bones, then they have a potential to move in once they've used up a lot of the abilities from Li Ming and Jaina.
Blizzard hitting both warriors, chunking them down to half health there. Sage Mode helping out with the damage as well. But you can see if a couple members do get caught in those huge abilities from Jaina, you can see how quickly they can start to lose their front line. So watch out for that combo. We're actually going to need Johanna and New York most likely to fight away from each other. A little bit peeled out because that Blizzard getting picked up.
Oh
is so
man,
strong.
here we go again. Sharuno runs in. He's going to take down Seryu, so at least this time it's a trade.
Yeah, at least getting the trade there as a win for him. If you're going to get taken out, might as well take someone with you, right? So now the bottom lane is being grabbed here from UConn as they do have a number advantage on the field as a Falstad went to the top, started grabbing it, and Jaina is trying to put pressure on Falstad, but that's kind of a weird, aggressive area or I guess matchup as Jaina has to hit her abilities while Falstad just has to work in auto attacks and hit a Q.
Right. Just back and forth, trading out the shrines, moving still between mid and bottom while leaving somebody up in the top, trying to make sure that they don't allow the minions to get too close to their towers. They don't want to drain the ammo there, and Taeyeon's even going to be able to pick up this top shrine. So both of them momentarily controlled by Cal Berkeley, but wherever one team grabs, the other team will grab the other.
Jake, we see our teams moving towards level 10 here, but Trikslyr has a slight lead. What's going to be so great for them, and what's the power play they need to do when they get to 10?
You know, I just like what they're doing. They're continuing to rotate with the Falstad every time Zagara steps a little bit too far out of lane. And I think if they stick to that, it's going to work very nicely. But especially once we hit level 10, those kind of rotations out of Falstad in general can really catch Berkeley off guard because the power of that Mighty Gust. Here it is. Once more, Hampro is going to lose his life for a third time. Yeah,
they seem to be really picking on Hampro. And at what point do you say, as a Zagara player here, I need to play a little reserved? What do you say to your teammates? Hey, I'm getting focused down. What's the major play for the Golden Mishas?
You have to change something up if this is going to consistently happen, right? Like you can't just let something happen to you over and over again. So yeah, either bring somebody up to help or just play more passively, focus on making sure you have the bottom shrine or even just control of the mid, you know. They can have the shrines as long as you don't give them the Dragon Knight. But they at least have picked up their heroic ability.
The Gust to pick up the Dragon, and it works out. A very early Dragon Knight here for Connecticut. And a huge Blessed Shield with Sundering.
Oh, good Divine Shield will save Li Ming, but that does mean that will be down while they're trying to defend this Dragon Knight. With such an early Dragon Knight, they're going to be looking to take down as many towers as they can, start to build that little bit of lead that UConn likes so well by getting more of an experience advantage and opening up some of the lanes so that in future Dragon Knights or future pushes, then they can start working on taking it out some of the forts.
The good news for Cal Berkeley here is they do have heroes that are very strong at picking apart a dragon, with Jaina bringing in the chill factor with her trait, with Zagara helping out with the Hydra, and then of course Sage Mode really hitting those arcane missiles. They can try and chunk this down quickly, but they are losing infrastructure here. They see two turrets being taken away. Down the bottom lane, we have a support battle as Lim will get picked off, though, as Damn Lead for 3 comes in. There is a Tomb, and members of Cal Berkeley are falling often.
I love Entomb into 7-sided strike, that combination.
That's just such beautiful synergy. Like we talked about this draft being very control-oriented. You saw it, exemplified perfectly there. You cannot escape the Entomb, and 7-sided strike will do 49% of a single hero's health pool if they are focused down from that. Very powerful against those frontline heroes.
Yeah, they'll really be looking to try to zone one person away with a 7-sided strike, and Entomb being able to grab them. I mean, Dragon Shower is great for that anyway because you're just going to have people separated from their team more often, trying to control all 3 lanes to get the Dragon Knight.
And the thing is, the synergies don't really stop there for UConn. Entomb is so great here with Mighty Gust. It catches 2 people off, it can push away the rest of the team. You even have the Blessed Shield. If you're not able to get a kill after Entomb, you have the Blessed Shield to follow up and keep walking down upon it.
And Sundering on top of it.
Yeah, they have so many tools here to really break Cal Berkeley apart and never allow them to fully team fight as a team.
Yeah, and there are a lot of good targets for Entomb on Cal Berkeley too. You do have Dwarf Toss to be able to help Meridian get away. Li Ming has teleport, but there's still lots of very good targets for that. And they could really even use it to force out like a Devouring Maw. Say if they force out the Devouring Maw, Entomb has a way shorter cooldown, so that's a win.
So one thing I would like to see on the side of Berkeley is to start to try to bait that Falstad to fly up and rotate to the Zagara, because we've already seen Falstad is very quick to make the call to rotate up to get that kill. If they lurk in the bushes with a hero like Muradin and paired with Li Ming, and they just await something like that, they can really punish that play to rotate up like that. Because using the fly so aggressively is not something we see all that commonly.
Yeah, and I wonder if they actually do get in a scenario where they're able to bait out that fly and punish UConn. Does UConn go back into their old state of play? Do they go back to a more reserved play? Because we are seeing something different from them. They are being more aggressive, and honestly, I like it a lot. I kind of want to see what happens, though, if it doesn't go well for them. Do they actually go into a situation where they're a bit tilted and start to throw incorrectly? I would love to see Berkeley make a play here. And now that they're hitting 13, they're getting tools to start doing that. They have Ice Block now, so that can help out with Jaina here. And, of course, the Calamity Field is starting to come together for Li Ming. And Berkeley is going to get one takedown. Danley for 3 is getting body blocked here by Overwatch. The Iron Skin will go out. It's not quite enough damage. There's a Water Elemental, but we will not have a second kill here for Berkeley. But that is some fight back. I like it.
Yeah, they know that the rotations are coming in, so they were able to find them, catch them out. Hampro going to start to go in and look at Seiryu and Falstad. With Falstad being down, knows he could be a little more aggressive, but may pay for it. Sundering is going to come out, and with the Wind Fury, Zagara gets taken out.
Beautiful execution there by Seiryu. He knew his moment. Spending a heroic like Sundering in a 1v1 situation oftentimes isn't really worthwhile. If you know you can guarantee the kill, definitely worth that long, resource. It's essentially a very expensive resource to use, and I think it paid off there.
It did pay off in Seiryu. Now we'll have that heroic once again in 50 seconds. Overwatch, though, getting some attacks here. Seiryu just trying to hold it because in the middle, the dragon is being grabbed, but Overwatch will achieve victory there. And with Sage Mode and Limb slowing down that dragon capture, they were able to prevent that from occurring.
I always hate that moment when I'm playing on Dragonshire too, and there's like that communication of like, are you going to get it or not? Because I'm going to die.
I'm gonna die for you,
if
bro.
If I die, you have to get it. But that was not a case of that being able to happen for UConn. So a little bit of a misstep there, but they're still ahead in experience. They're still looking to get 16, so they'll have that power play again over Cal Berkeley.
Game still overall is a little bit on the even side here. We have Tricky Turtles having a little bit of a lead, but in terms of structures, we have turrets, we have forts all available for both teams here. We had a little bit of push down in the middle, but that's about it. This game is not over for Cal and Berkeley. They look like they've been dominated in pickoffs here and there, but they still have that huge fight potential. Devouring Maul into a strong Murden engage, and Li Ming getting those resets could be the change of tide that they would need.
Yeah, not only Li Ming getting the resets, but she's really speccing into this whole full-on teleport style of play.
Yeah.
And once she gets level 13, she has Illusionist, but when she has level 16, she has Diamond Skin.
Yes.
Then she becomes so much less squishy, less of this glass cannon, and more of a, a battle mage in your face, doing so much damage.
Do you think that's the right build here, though, with Johanna and Leoric, double warrior? It's kind of hard to get those resets so often, especially with the teleports, putting you in a situation where if there's a clutch heal from Karazim, you don't get that reset, and suddenly Li Ming's in trouble.
They have so much damage, though. They have Zagara, Jaina, and Li Ming. So it's much more just about surviving, especially initial, like if they're going to go in, there's a Sundering, there's an Entomb. If they can survive initially from that, then they could start to turn, and they have a lot of damage.
It also gives her more like 1v1 duel capability against a hero like Thrall. So there's a lot of merit to it as well, but I see your point of it being a little bit riskier in some regards also.
All right, well, aggression in the middle as Tricky Turtles are moving in. The Divine Shield into Avatar will keep Murden alive. Overwatch turns around for the Stormbolt, but there is no follow-up here. Zagara is just pushing up in the top lane. Never leave the lane, keep the pressure up, and that will give them just enough experience to get tied up here with Tricky Turtles, but a lot of heroics were burned there.
Yeah, and Divine Shield, very long cooldown. Avatar as well. Both of them were burned. It did keep Murden alive, especially through the 7-sided strike, which was thrown out, but still, with them being burned and those being much longer cooldowns, it's a win for UConn.
Yeah, just slightly. It's about even when you consider Sundering, but definitely
true.
They're up one heroic, essentially. So if there was a fight, I agree. Definitely in favor of UConn, but they're on the same talent here. And the Golden Mishas, Cal Berkeley, they've really started to close that experience gap, but that's a big deal for them.
That it is, as they are now grabbing the bottom shrine. And again, we go back to that tug of war, trying to grab a dragon for our teams. And these teams have actually been very evenly matched when it comes to rotations. Usually you can see a clear winner by now about who's rotating better. Tricky Turtles had it in the early game, but Golden Mishas, in terms of holding their shrines, have really held the bottom lane a little bit better, in my opinion. And they're keeping up the aggression. Now stealing Mercenaries in the bottom left corner. Danley for 3 is going to see some engagements here, as Carino actually uses Mighty Gust. I don't know if that was needed.
Yeah.
They'd already used Iron Skin and dodged the Stormbolt too, and they have both of the shrines, so it's really just Cal Berkeley trying to delay, deny until someone can pick up a shrine. But this Zagara, you can see how scared she has been constantly. It's like, do I walk up here? And that means there was times she could have stopped it,
Well, Danley for 3 and crew will move down the middle of the map here, and they should be able to start securing a fort, especially with these few minions helping out to tank those shots from the turret. The rest of the team for Berkeley does rotate down, and they need to get into battle positions here as they try to hold on to this dragon, but you can tell by their movement, they realize they're going to lose this fort. They're not going to overdo anything quite yet. Hampro, though, fishing for a Devouring Maw in that top right corner. You see UConn all spread out immediately. Nice awareness by them.
So this really reminds me of Cal Berkeley's play yesterday, where they were letting gems get turned in on Tomb of the Spider Queen without contesting them a little bit more than they should have. Just overly passive in the early to mid game, and right there, that Dragon Knight should not have been picked up from UConn. It was just a free. They walked up to the Dragon Knight, they channeled it, and they got it really for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really just comes down to how much they put a fear of Falstad and Thrall rotating onto Zagara into that. Just that slight hesitation, like, is this going to happen to me again? Respawn timers are so much longer now. That's a much worse amount of time if I get taken out than the early game, and that did cost them as they've taken out a fort. They're starting to work on bringing down the towers in front of the keep. That gives a lot of experience, and now a full level lead for UConn as they're going to start working on getting their Storm Tier talents.
Berkeley is going to need some shot calls from the team here. Falstad now flying up as Torino's going to try and hunt down the Zagara. Zagara has no mana, so she's going to have to juke, and she will get around. Torino does go for the Mighty Gust and puts her into the wall. That will be a quick kill here from the Tricky Turtles. Man, I feel like Zagara's having a really, really hard time this game.
Yeah, I like the focus on her too, because that's the hero who's supposed to be safe when you're laning by yourself, right? Like, you've got the creep, you've got the vision, you're supposed to be okay, but she constantly is not. It started in the early game, and they're just continuing to do it into the late.
And that's a big kill. That kill this late in the game puts the Tricky Turtles, you know, right around level 20. So they now have that secured so much sooner. They can very safely, look at, they're doing this aggressive flank behind the wall with the gate still standing to take this fort down, really just kind of dictating exactly how impactful that kill was.
And constantly putting pressure on Zagara gives you the added benefit of maybe she uses them all when it doesn't help out her team, which is a huge cooldown they don't want to use. Now, luckily for the team here of Berkeley, Zagara has yet to use her maul, but again, we're 16 minutes into the game. Eventually, it's got to be used.
They're hunting Muradin. Gus goes out. Oh my goodness!
Wind tunnel.
Continuous winds.
Just keeps getting blown left. He couldn't even walk away there. Danley for 3 will bring in the lockdown as well. And UConn is coming out with some fighting spirit. I gotta say, I like the new UConn.
Yeah.
This is a different team.
Yeah, they've obviously had a few conversations last night. Guys, we need to bring it together. We need to start working out. Danley for 3 was tweeting about this yesterday. You were talking about that, Jake. And I'm loving the play. They're being relentless.
By the way, I really like their warrior builds too. Like, they're going super tanky. We talked about the hardened bones plus lingering apparition earlier, but then picking up spell shield, and then even at level 20 getting hardened shield for Leoric. Similarly, Johanna, while getting burning rage to help with clearing out the creep, still went ahead and got holy renewal. So even just giving herself more health, all they want to do is sustain through that initial burst, and they know that they're going to be able to just bring down Cal Berkeley, especially the way they're picking them apart.
Berkeley playing very passively here as they move towards level 20, but with the shrines now spawning, someone's going to have to make a move somewhere, as another dragon going over to UConn could potentially be a keep, and that's when you're really in trouble in these types of games.
I'm curious as to how UConn's going to approach this. It looks like they're splitting up, getting as many Merc camps as they can, but this is when they're dominating the map. I mean, look how blue it is, and yeah,
That was
a free dragon.
I'm almost surprised they didn't get their Bruiser camp on top of it. They could have been a little bit more aggressive, but I think they're going to go for a dev push.
Well, pressure on the bottom lane is looming here for the Golden Mishas. They're going to want to defend their keep if possible. See Suru walking up there, working in some chain lightnings as well. Torino floating in the middle, just trying to make members of Berkeley come look at Falstad rather than sitting and defending the bottom. And Danley for 3 just moves towards that keep and starts right-clicking.
20 is almost here for Cal Berkeley, and then they can look for that big mob, but so far we have not had that whole game. They have yet to really even get into
We haven't even seen one mob.
the big team fight that they want.
It has not been cast, that heroic.
It's just been one person getting taken out constantly that has pushed Cal Berkeley into this defensive position, and there is a mob that catches no one.
Watch this, Gus. Going to completely disrupt them. Sudden Ring goes out, and they're focusing on the core. The shields are going down.
They're actually ignoring the entire team. That was a good 3 seconds there that the entire team of Cal Berkeley could not attack UConn, and they are just going for the throat. An 18-minute match here will go to UConn, and they were dominating this entire game. I feel like Cal Berkeley didn't even have a chance, but did it even feel like they tried to fight back at any point?
They always had someone down.
Yeah.
Like, they always had someone out, and I think when you look at the battleground specifically on Dragonshire, like, the draft was just better for UConn. They were way more focused on just getting the objective.
They looked way more comfortable on top of that, too. And they've made the adjustments from yesterday. It's very obvious They went back and they studied the replays from their games yesterday. They looked at moments where they had their advantages and they didn't optimize on them, and they've corrected 100% of that play. I mean, just comparing this game on Dragonshire to last night's game on Dragonshire, the round of 16, they looked so much more convincing.
Yeah, that was a way longer game yesterday.
Yeah, like 24 minutes or something along that, like compared to, that was probably 16?
Yeah, it was like, we have
UConn.
20 way earlier, let's just go and win.
They are looking new and improved here, really rotating well here, putting a lot of pressure on Zagara, showing that if you do put pressure on this hero, she won't be dominating like she's been doing the entire tournament.
Yeah.
But talking about Cal Berkeley, what do they need to do in game number 2? What do you want to see from them?
I mean, you go ahead.
Yeah, so early game, they had like a bit of aggression. It looked like they were rotating as a team. They were really forcing UConn to respond to them. But once we saw those false set of rotations start to pick off Zagara, it almost seemed like they just went into panic mode.
Yeah, they got shaken.
Yeah, they really were shaken, and they stopped rotating. They stopped what they were doing, which was working.
The entire team seemed to be deflated, but here we go. Upcoming matches for the day. Washington versus Tennessee, UT Arlington versus Boston College, and the last matchup of the day, East Carolina versus Arizona State. Awesome matches throughout the entire day, all of them looking great, and we can't wait to bring them to you. But make sure to watch out for everything, because the guys that win today will be moving on to the Heroic Four.
That's a big deal.
The Heroic Four will be in a couple weeks on April 9th and April 10th, guys, so make sure you're available for that. It will be in Seattle, Washington at the CenturyLink Field Event Center. Here it is, April 9th, the Heroic Four, April 10th, the Grand Finals, live from Seattle on ESPN2. Going to be a wonderful weekend, and we can't wait to see you there. But again, we have to come back to today, the Epic Gate. You got to get through all this action.
Right, there's only one game left for UConn to be able to make it there too. They're so close to be able to get where they wanted to last year. They had some roster issues that they weren't able to get to that point, and now they're so close to being able to achieve that.
All right, we'll see if UConn can move forward or if Cal Berkeley can make it go to game number 3. We'll be right back after the break. We'll see you soon. All right, welcome back. UConn versus Berkeley is going on right now. We're getting ready for game number 2, but let's check out some leaderboards here as UConn, even though they changed up their gameplay a little bit and they were a bit more aggressive, they are still taking a while to finish out their games here. They're actually at the very bottom at 19 minutes and 58 seconds. Now, I think that game was a 19-minute game, so they beat it by a smidgen.
Good job, bud.
But the new and improved UConn really bringing in some action, but still they're drawing out their games and they're making sure that whenever they go in for a takedown, it's one that they can secure.
Right, that's not necessarily like a negative stat. Like some teams simply strive in those late game scenarios, and they just want to wait for that. So other teams are more anxious to finish it out early, right? ASU, they just know they can outplay their opponents with early rotations and win that way. But UConn's more about like, hey, once we have level 20, we know we're at max power, we're going to wait for all our cooldowns, and we'll win there.
Late game decision making can be very scary for teams, especially newer teams too. Just the fact that the respawn timers get so much longer, knowing that those decisions matter so much more in the late game and there's less room for error, it can be very terrifying for teams. So the fact that we see this from UConn, this kind of play, just shows a lot of confidence for me.
For me, I want to start seeing a marriage of their new playstyle and their old playstyle, right? Usually they're all about getting mercenary camps and bleeding out their opponents and then securing takedowns whenever they go for the win. But now they seem to be focusing on getting takedowns. They actually ignored a majority of the objectives in that game until they got a dragon. It's
true.
Right? They didn't grab mercenaries in the bottom left or the top left or the bottom. So if they can start to merge those two, they are going to become an elite team in this entire tournament. All right, well, let's check out the battleground here. We'll be going to the Infernal Shrines, a background we've seen a few times here and there.
All right, so this is the Infernal Shrines, another 3-lane battleground, and there are 3 shrines that randomly will spawn skeletal defenders. If you get 40 of these, you'll be able to summon a Punisher that will push down the lane. The big deal about this battleground is the Punisher really likes to attack heroes.
He loves heroes.
Yes, he wants to attack heroes even more than structures, so they will jump onto heroes. It's a good point for a team fight because it does stun them out and also has other abilities that they can use depending on what Punisher goes through. There's also some mercenary camps that could be really advantageous if you grab them, especially as the shrine is about to spawn. You can really maximize the amount of damage that you are doing to your opponent's structures.
The aggression on this battleground can be spread out heavily because of where the Punishers go down. They move down a different lane. So let's take a look at a heat map here and see where people are being killed off. As you can see, a majority of the action will happen in the top, the middle, and the bottom, but the little specks in the top right, in the middle, and the bottom right, that's from the Punisher landing on top of a hero, walking them down, and you'll see a lot of teams kind of pounce on that. But yep, thank you, Gilly, for the circle there. That's where all the majority of the action is. And then, of course, there is the core. where the Punisher will push all the way down, start getting into that action as well, and you'll see teams try to have a last stand before the Punisher and the rest of the team will take them out. So we'll see how our teams will do in the draft here, as they need to draft around getting that Punisher, but also getting into engagement so they can follow up whenever they do get their own Punisher. Let's head into the draft and find out what our teams are getting.
Oh wow, well we are well on into this. We can see the Zool and ETC ban actually persisting in game number 2, and it's pretty darn similar. Is this the same draft?
That's pretty much, yeah. Wow,
That
it's
is
really
the exact
similar.
same draft. Oh my gosh.
I think the ETC and the Zool bans were flipped here, but that's about it
No,
here.
Cal
No, I
Berkeley
think
was
it was-
banning
no.
ETC
Oh, were they?
versus
This is
UConn,
identical.
yeah.
Exactly the same here. It seems like the gameplay is
So-
set in motion for both these guys.
I believe after this, it was we had Rhaegar banned on Cal Berkeley, and they
Yeah,
grabbed
and they
Uther,
grabbed Uther.
forced UConn into Karazim. Now, things we have to talk about, the differences of Infernal Shrines is there is a higher emphasis on good area of effect abilities to be able to
Yes.
claim those final hits on those skeletal defenders in order to gather the Punisher more effectively. So Johanna's fantastic for this. Sometimes we see Diablo or Stitches here because Last Bite is so very useful. And even Kael'thas or Lunara, very highly prioritized.
Chain Bomb,
Yeah.
Jaina's Blizzard can be great. Sonya's Whirlwind can be fantastic because you can get damage on the opposing heroes and help clear up the minions. So we'll see if that will pick up for our teams. But in terms of drafts here, we're going to be seeing some bans from Cal Berkeley, and I kind of wonder if they're going to go with that ban from Rhaegar once again. Rhaegar, again, can synergize very well with Johanna, and it's helpful against Thrall with that Lightning Shield. Lots of stuff he can pull off with the Rhaegar.
Mages are really impactful. Actually, it's just going to be Rhaegar again. So
Wow.
yes, mages are really impactful too, because if you get into a situation where you're just kind of poking down those skeletal defenders and rotating around your opponents on the shrines, you can throw out things like Blizzard, things like Flame Strike, and you can steal away a lot of the defenders as you see them get lower. So it could be really nice to have them. Li Ming maybe a little bit harder because Arcane Orb blows up on the first thing it hits.
Yeah, Li Ming's just a hero. If you pick her on this battleground, it's because you are feeling that you're getting a lot of team fights. You don't want to pick her up for clearing up the actual minions itself. But you can float around and try and work on some damage. But Cal Berkeley definitely wants Li Ming for the team fights. UConn, I'm kind of wondering if they'll change up their strategy a little bit. We've been seeing a lot of double warrior from them. Johanna actually being one of those warriors. But double support can be great here on this battleground because they do a lot of heroes actually have a lot of area effects, like Tassadar bringing in the Psystorm. And then it helps out so much against Li Ming. So you get a kind of a 2-for-1 win there as they're able to help clear the minions in the middle and then also deal with Li Ming.
You know, I'd be all for a Tassadar right wing on the side of UConn. They could really control that global presence. We saw how beneficial that Falstad was, being able to rotate so quickly. And you also add that effect of right wing and Tassadar, who, like you said, they both have area of effect abilities.
Yeah.
They pair well together because you have the immediate shield of Tassadar and the sustained healing of right wing. That could be cool.
Yeah, I've always really liked that pairing. UConn going to switch up the draft for the first hero pick at least and ban out Greymane instead of Sonya. So Sonya is available to Cal Berkeley, and she is very good at clearing out those defenders.
You know, Greymane is a dangerous hero. I actually played him a little bit more yesterday to get more familiar with him, and that guy has some crazy poke with the Gillyweed cocktail build, and then when he actually does have an engage, they can go in and take somebody out. Damage numbers go up through the roof. So Greymane can be a great ban here, especially with that Gillyweed cocktail being thrown into the entire pit of where those minions
a great way to just snipe those final hits because it's so much, it's burst damage, it's a long cooldown, but it's a lot of damage at once.
Right.
All right.
2 picks for Cal Berkeley now. Do they grab Sonya? What are they going to mix it up with? Probably as support once again, knowing that they banned Rhaegar, but will they get Uther or are they going to switch it up here?
I wouldn't mind seeing Sonya getting picked up. Sonya here could be good for them, pairs well with Muradin. Sonya also, again, we talked about it already, can help clear up everything around the shrines. And Cal Berkeley wanting to be a little bit more aggressive, we saw it last game. Sonya would give them that power to do so as she's such a strong frontliner, and she actually does chunk down Johanna relatively quickly as Johanna can't ditch out the damage back.
All right, well, they're sticking to Zagara once again. The trend could continue with Uther here on the side of Cal Berkeley, but honestly, considering they had some struggles in that last game, I would expect to see adjustments.
Yeah. Usually you don't see the same team comp.
Especially after a loss, right?
Right, when it doesn't work out, but sticking with it, Zagara and Uther they're going to grab. Hopefully they can at least keep the Zagara more alive this time.
We can hope. We'll see.
Yeah, they may be going into this game saying, hey, play a little bit safer here. If you die once, fine. But the second time, come back and just hold the experience, man. And also, we would love to have you in team fights. Maybe show up and get a Devouring Maul down before 18 minutes in the game. I just want to see a little bit more confidence with that Zagara pick. Uther is being picked up here as well. They now have the Divine Shield available to them. They can also help out with the healing. I would love to actually see a Lunara pick from UConn here, but it would be more Assassins than they're used to. But Lunara, the moment I see Uther, I'm like, wow, pick up
Yes.
Lennar and start burning people down.
For UConn, they could do it, but they lean on that double warrior
They
quite
love it.
frequently. So we'll see. Stylistically, it doesn't sound like them, but I totally agree that it would be a fantastic pickup in this situation.
Which could shoehorn Cal Berkeley into a double support to kind of help out with all that healing, and I don't feel like they run double support that well.
Yeah, they would be hurting if they ran double support in this situation. Oh my goodness!
Yes.
There were two.
Wow.
Lieutenant Morales.
Could the dream be Shadowstock, Stim Drone, or I'm sorry, the Zeratul charging in there, getting the
Shadow
auto
Assault?
attack. Yeah, Shadow Assault, getting in there, bringing the damage.
It's possible. Of course, Medic, we haven't seen a ton of this hero in this tournament. She has arguably the highest healing in the entire game, and she can really just keep you alive. She has two big heroic options, the Stim Drone, which really empowers one auto attack hero, or the Medevac dropship, where your entire team can get into the ship and fly quickly across the map. This can be used to rotate aggressively and flank your enemy team when they're setting up for one of these shrines, or for, really aggressive attacks on a keep, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's really good for multiple or battlegrounds that have a ton of objectives, like we saw on Blackheart's Bay. But with Zeratul and Falstad, I mean, I think we'll likely see the Stim Drone. It's 75% attack speed. It's just so powerful in a fight, and I'm really excited to see. I think it'll probably still be Void Prison,
Yeah.
especially since it's UConn.
It's Dan Lee, too.
Yeah,
He's a
they want to
playmaker.
do like the sustained
He went
thing,
gathering
the normal
power
things.
yesterday. He went full made Zeratul build, and he kind of destroyed single-handedly the opposing team against, I believe it was Ohio State that we were watching yesterday. So Danley for 3 on Zeratul can be quite the pickup. I do like Morales as well around those temples where you're trying to grab all the minions. She can keep you sustained, which prevents anyone from having to go back to well, which saves you some time if you're starting to win those trades. Now for the 5th pickup for Cal Berkeley, I'm wondering what they're going to pick up. I feel like they need a little bit more aggression.
Yeah.
They need some kind of way to get in the back line and start putting pressure on the opposing teams that can get past Johanna and feel comfortable with it. Another warrior here could be good for them.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see what it's going to be. I still am in the Sonya camp.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I can't see any other hero other than Sonya having the same value.
Artanis, the best hero in the world. Yeah, I saw Jake look up,
dreaming, buddy.
like, shocked.
We're getting that
I thought
later.
you were calling it as a call. Sage Mode plays a lot of Sonya, right? It's
Yeah.
the second most played hero in this entire tournament. But the problem being is he's also their Li Ming
Their Li
player.
Ming player. That's what I was just going to question if they do that. But I do have the Taeyeon sometimes plays
He
Li
could
Ming.
play Li Ming, yeah, but he's not as confident, right?
Right.
So this is all comes down to comfort, and this is why they think about it so much.
Yep.
The hero pools aren't necessarily always incredibly flexible. You want to make sure you have at least 3 to 4 comfort picks, but the Grey Main deny, it seems like it might be working against Cal Berkeley.
And it's, it's the last game. They have to do whatever they can to try to bring it back to game number 3. Like, do you really want to have somebody on a hero they don't feel super confident
Right,
with?
this is your tournament life on the line.
Yeah, you go
Yeah.
home if you lose here.
They're going to do it.
It's Sonya.
They're
All
going
right, I love
Sonya. Okay, it's happening. Sonya can be great here, gets the pressure in. She can deal with Zeratul well. When Zeratul does come in and tries to bring in that greater cleave, she can turn around and work in some auto attacks and get those slams in. Leap becomes a possibility here with the medic. You can dive in the background, get on Thrall.
Well, then we get the
Morales.
Gilly leaps on top of that.
Yeah,
so
we get the
double
Gilly
value.
boys. Yes, the double
We'll see.
value.
We shall see soon.
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 All right. Well, Wrath of the Berserker will be the other heroic. You'll see that often picked up. Can really turn Sonya into the beast that she is. And this is our matchups. Gillyweed, looking at it, who do you give the win to in terms of drafting?
In terms of drafting, I like UConn.
Yeah.
I don't think UConn can lose this, and let me explain why. They have insane amounts of control. The ultimate initiation of Sundering Blessed Shield. They have the Void Prison and the Mighty Gust, and these are all heroics that lend to the control of Medic. Medics, the way that you beat Medic is you engage hard on her, and there's no incredibly hard initiation other than Maw. Did we see Maw have any impact in game number 1? No.
No.
And that is gonna be the thing that Cal Berkeley has to adjust. They need to get that value out of Zagara if they want to be able to defeat UConn in game number 2.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, because for UConn, they do have the control. You mentioned it. Another way to beat Lieutenant Morales is to kind of put her in a mana restraint, kind of starve her out with mana. But they don't have crazy poke here. They have Li Ming's poke, but Li Ming's going to run out of mana before Morales.
Right.
And then Zagara, we saw last game, was a little bit too frightened to get in and even put it in her summons on important targets. I feel like Morales has full control here, and then with their team backing her up, UConn's looking great.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
There's going to be a lot of poke. There's a poke war that happens around those shrines. And it comes down to either if you want to just try to bring down the skeletal defenders while your opponents are there and just hope that you're winning that war, or if you want to get into a brawl and then take them out and then move back and maybe be a little bit slower about it, but be able to take it out. But I feel like with the composition that UConn's drafted, they could do either way. And I'm excited to see if they are going to go for that more brawling style because, like we said, they're turning over a new leaf.
Totally. So looking at a couple of players that I'm going to be keeping my eye on for this game, first up is going to be Torino. We saw him playing Falstad in the last game, and he was being way more aggressive than we've seen, and I liked it. I would love for him to keep up that tempo in this game. And of course, on the other side, Saru. Saru did so well yesterday. He was quite the playmaker for this team. And as long as he shows up like he did yesterday, I can see them doing well, even in the Heroic 4 if they were to make it through.
His thrall is monstrous. He enables fights that shouldn't be possible. And he's a playmaker. He's a flashy hero.
Saru makes his own rules when it comes to heroes of the dorm, so we'll keep an eye on those two. The game is ready to go. Let's move in. UConn versus Cal Berkeley, game number 2. Who's going home and who is staying for the Heroic 4?
Alrighty, guys, on the blue side, that is UConn, the Tricky Turtles with Monkey Lamps playing on the Medic. We have Danley for 3 on Zeratul, Bado Seas playing Johanna, Chiruno on the Falstad, and Seryu rounding up the team as Thrall.
On the very far right for Cal Berkeley, they're gonna have to win this game or they go home. Taeyun, Hampro, Overwatch, Lim, and Sage Mode all down here on the very far right, representing the red here. And, they're actually having a pretty nice skin coordination there with Muradin and Uther, that gold and black.
We call that
Skinnergy.
Skinnergy.
It's strong with Cal Berkeley.
Looking fresh, and they move out immediately here. Hampro hanging out on the backside here, trying to get the creep tumors. But remember, guys, tweet at Heroes of the Dorm if you do believe that you know who will be winning this. Vote for your teams.
So we see the same Zeratul build already coming out, as we do have Cleve picked up at level 1. Likely we could have that Gathering Power once again, and with the I believe that player had like an average 1 death a game.
Yeah, Danley for 3.
I mean, if you feel like you're okay to go Gathering Power if you're not really dying.
An abundance of confidence in myself to play if I never died, because that is a hero that if you can be super aggressive with, you can make things happen for your team. All right, we're gonna have Hampro in the very top once again going against Thrall, and immediately you see him playing more passively than normal. Torino and the rest of the squad will be rotating between the bottom lane and the mid lane here for UConn.
Yeah, we're going to see this. It's similar, and this is another one of those situations where you have the one hero for your team at the top, and then the 4 moving between mid and bot. This is a really great battleground to do so, but Cal Berkeley are just a little bit behind their opponents on those rotations.
Just a smidgen there. Keep it up in the experience, though. Danley for 3, though, already sharking here for Hampro. And Hampro, every time he gets a little bit of experience, he just mounts up and sits on his creep here. And I like it. You need to. First off, because you're playing against a Zeratul. And secondly, you were targeted in game number 1. You know that UConn has their sights set on you.
Not only is Falstad flying in still a potential, but Zeratul is not showing. He's doing a great job of just sitting, soaking experience, but waiting, lying in wait to show up. And that just always puts a little bit of a scared feeling for your opponents, never knowing if they can actually be able to move out.
All right, Hampro taking some damage there, but back to Zeratul. Danley for 3. His major power spikes here are going to be at level 4 and then level 13. That wormhole will be very, very important for this mage-style type of Zeratul build, so watch out for him as the game progresses. And now the Shrine. We at the very, very top here for the teams.
All right, so we got to mention that Hampro has tapped the well here in the top lane, so it's a bit of a massive resource spent from the Zagara in particular. That will hinder his ability if this fight is drawn out for a long period of time. Everyone's rotated up. Falstad is maintaining the soak in the bottom, so there will be an additional lane or 2 of experience for UConn, but they're gonna lose Monkey Lamps.
That's a great pickup for Cal Berkeley. It's exactly what they need to do. They might even be able to get Seryu as he gets right behind his gate. Badassi is doing a good job condemning them to keep them from being able to move in, but that is a few seconds where Cal Berkeley can get more into position and start taking out these skeletal defenders. But respawn timers are still very short at this point, and it takes a long time to be able to get up to that number 40. So UConn may still be able to choose to rotate up. I like that they've kept Falstad in the bottom, though, to soak up the lane.
All right, looks like he wants to fly up now. Again, Gathering Power was picked up here for the Zeratul. That means that he can get way more powerful when he picks up enemy hero kills, but if he dies, he loses all of that additional ability power.
Right, it's a very all-in style of the Zeratul, and he's going after Taeyeon, who will get healed back up, but he's just going to continue. If they can just keep whittling down people, bringing down their health bars, eventually he can move in, blink in, and start to take them out. He might be going for Limb Visionant.
All right, but he's a little bit too far forward in that moment. Gets immediately blown up.
Zeratul will be taken out. It's actually a big deal here for Golden Mishas because, again, he will be one of the major targets that Berkeley wants to get. But it looks like the Golden Mishas are making some plays here. They're going to get the first Punisher.
Something you always have to remember with Lieutenant Morales is it's a much more passive healer.
Yeah.
You have to consider your positioning a lot more too, because she's not something like Karzim who can just Radiant dash in and be able to heal you up very quickly. She does not have any sort of escape other than just right-clicking towards your base. So if you need the heals, you have to make sure that you are in her range and not going too far out of it, which is sometimes you can see Zeratul's do when you get very aggressive.
Yeah, Monkey Lamps is an aggressive player, but he is going to be limited here by that hero, as Gilly was mentioning. And we're now having the aggression starting to work out here for Golden Mishas as they got the top lane pushed down. Sonya has now already started grabbing the mercenaries on the far right. Typically, you wait a little bit until you grab these, but with Sonya being a hero that can do that mostly on her own, why not grab what you can and get more pressure on the map?
So you might notice that UConn's actually ahead in experience just a slight bit, even though they're down 2 kills to the of the Cal Berkeley. This is all because of Falstead's superior soaking, that global presence he has, and it's really awarded them that just better soak.
Yeah, they also did. You know that you could bait the Punisher over the wall. It's a very early one, so it's going to go down quickly. So they did a good job of rotating down into the other lane too. They had the triple lane soak going throughout that, and that's why we see such a good lead for them there.
Aggression down here. Taiyun is in trouble. Danley for 3, going for the aggression, and now getting another gathering power stack. Remember, every kill that he secures will get him a little bit stronger until his next death. So, see Danley for 3 as they'll constantly rotate around. In the middle of the map here, we have the pressure occurring for Berkeley as they have finally grabbed those minions, but Sage Mode and Lim may be in trouble as Danley for 3 is eyeing them. If Battle gets a really good engage there, watch for Danley for 3 to really keep up with that pressure.
Sonya rotating down, maybe looking at the mercenary camp in the bottom, just constantly jungling for Sage Mode. She will start to work on these Khazra. It's always really nice if you can pick up a mercenary camp as a shrine is about to spawn, because you force your opponents into a position where they say, okay, do we give them some free push onto our structures while we get set up for the shrine phase, or do we go to the shrine phase, or do we go and defend that and allow our opponents to get a better setup there?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure that can be occurring for you, and you have to kind of be able to weigh the options of what you need to do for your team to get the overall win. Now, the shrine will be spawning in the middle, so both teams kind of benefit equally on their both the mercenary picks, as the top lane is pushing in for UConn, the bottom lane is pushing in for Berkeley. But UConn has decided to deal with the pressure on the bottom left because they can deal with that. Also grab the experience, which will get them closer to level 10.
Oh, Falstad.
Yeah, nice pickoff. I mean, caught out of position. I love this response coming out of Cal Berkeley. They're realizing that rotations are going to be happening, and they're abusing the fact that Falstad, might be left alone in those scenarios. So that's the first time we've really seen them gone aggressively on the side of UConn's map and just wait for a rotation and punish UConn.
I like the decision of UConn to forego some of the earlier shrine phase to pick up their heroic abilities, because now what do Cal Berkeley do? They're probably just going to have to leave. Unless they're going to get caught out here, they really need to be careful.
Yeah, probably retreat is their best choice here and try to get their own level 10, but Tricky Turtles does have the major power here. Sage Mode is in trouble, and it looks like he will get sniped there by a grenade. Monkey Lamps, even though this hero usually isn't very aggressive, he's making it work and bringing his own aggressive taste to the field.
Speaking of Monkey Lamps, we do have the medevac dropship.
Okay. I like the medevac dropship. It's one of those heroics that you can make a hefty amount of plays on. You can make Cal Berkeley run to a side of the map and get into a defensive stature, and then from there, UConn can just move to the other side of the map and put more pressure on there. It's more of a dog chasing a tail in that scenario if you're able to use it well. But if UConn is able to catch anyone, they can
give me a leap.
Oh, yes, we have leap for Sonya. So a little bit of different heroics from both Lieutenant Morales and Sonya, but both that can be very, very strong in respective scenarios.
Void Prison is down. The Mighty Gust not really doing too much. Hampro in trouble, but does get a Divine Shield, and there is a Maw that at least pulls a couple of people in. What will the response be? I hear the Sonya jumping into the middle of the fray, but they're not finding anybody just yet, and Sage Mode may have to move back. The Sundering catches her, and that will be the first kill in this fight.
And bad news for Berkeley. UConn was able to grab the Punisher as well. Taeyun is taking some damage here. Danley for 3 is on the hunt, looking for him. The hammering will not connect. Had it done so, Danley for 3 probably would have moved in.
All right, so we got to talk about a few, misplays there on the side of Cal Berkeley. They got a 2-man Maw, but Disintegrate was actually cast during the start of it, so it was completely wasted, doing no damage to those two heroes. Then on top of that, we saw the Sonya leap onto the medic in the back. you could have got those 2 targets on the left side, which were already in range of the Li Ming. They could have had way better focus fire, probably picked up a kill or 2, but instead they got nothing out of it.
Yeah, a little bit of a miscommunication as to who they were going to be focusing down. They know that they need to get Morales out. The healing that she provides is so much, but if they don't have the full team focusing on taking her out when the leap goes down, it's going to be trouble for the team.
What I'm hearing is we need a shot caller here for Cal Berkeley. He needs to be loud and obnoxious, get his team on the same page there. Sage mode getting picked off. Sonya will be falling immediately there, and we now have UConn stealing away the mercenary camps that she had just started. The pressure is really starting to take its toll here for UConn. You see Berkeley, when you look at the mini-map, really losing out in the middle lane and the bottom lane. They seem a little bit lost now, trying to find a way to get back in this game and get to that level 13.
Yeah, it's a lot more blue on the battleground, and they're going to be able to get level 13 ahead of their opponents. And Berkeley need to focus on making sure that they can have that for the next Shrine fight, because you can get into this situation on Infernal Shrines where you are constantly down a key talent tier, and then you're basically either giving up the shrine or fighting in a really unadvantaged position.
I do like that Berkeley's starting to group up a little bit here. I do see Zagara once again, though, being by herself in the top lane. Needs to be super careful there. The other 4 for Berkeley, though, are working together as a team, trying to get to that level 13 that Gilly was mentioning earlier. We do see Johanna, though, moving over here, stealing away these mercenaries. Tricky Turtles is almost daring Berkeley to come in and try and get to an engagement. Devouring Maw is available. If we can see a huge Maw from Zagara, they could come in here and contest, but Overwatcher, after seeing some aggression, immediately retreats.
Man, I am so impressed with their adaptation from yesterday's play to really maximize every advantage they have. They know having level 13 over their opponents means they can make these kind of aggressive moments and steal that away. Not only is it good for them, but it's a denial from Berkeley in the end.
They're using the distraction of clearing up the Fallen Shaman to even take out the towers on top. If you can get the towers away from the big structures, then whenever the Punisher you get, you can't just bait it over and get that free time of taking out the Punisher without your opponent starting to move in and looking for an engagement.
Totally agree, but I do believe we're getting a scenario now where Berkeley needs to make a play. Oh no, Sage mode getting caught once again, has to use Leap. And although it is a 70-second cooldown, it's one that hurts not to have available here. They don't have an instant engage without Vernon getting in and landing a Storm Bolt. So fighting over this Arcane Punisher, by the way, which is arguably one of the strongest Punishers you can get, is going to be very difficult for Berkeley. They are level 13, but they are down a heroic.
We'll see how they're going to set up. Hampro realizing that Danley for 3 could be anywhere, going to find him just by a sheer force of running into him. The rest of the members are coming in. Overwatcher starting to get picked apart, taken down. Taeyeon over on the other side, and the Sundering is going to come out. Mighty Gus pushes Li Ming out from being able to throw out some damage, and Danley for 3 getting healed back up, trying to take out one of these members. Divine Shield used on Sonya.
Members are getting low here for UConn, and Berkeley seems to have found a scenario where they get in. We see the reset happening for Taeyeon, trying to take out Danley for 3, and he will secure it. 2 more members are low. It will not be a kill, but that is still a 1-team fight, a 1-for-2 trade in the favor of Berkeley. Overwatch will need to retreat here, heal up a little bit, but now they can start contesting these shrines.
Morales is going to be able to heal them back up, and they do have a lead on the shrines, but it's going to be quite a while before we see Zeratul and Thrall return to the fight. But very importantly, they did get Zeratul, and that means gathering power has been reset.
Bit of a trigger finger on that Void Prison. I didn't see any real value in that. It's not bad to get one hero, but they weren't in a situation where they could immediately blow someone up, and it just felt a little bit anxious to try to make the fight happen when it wasn't needed at all yet.
Unfortunately, Berkeley also was not able to really go in and grab their own minions here just because they hadn't sent Murden back to heal all the way up.
Yeah.
So Berkeley not having they did have a number advantage, but they didn't bring the number advantage to that part of the map.
Yeah,
and
the Morales heals really came in handy there, and the fact that they were already so up with how many they had taken out before the fight.
And with Johanna being live with that Knight takes pawn, they really just kind of cleared up everything around the area, and now UConn moving in for the aggression, starting to knock a few players down low on health. You're going to keep seeing Danley for 3 move in and keep coming with attacks. At some point, though, you're going to need Lim to be on point with a stun. If he lands a stun during that wormhole there, that's when you punish Danley for 3.
16 is here for UConn, but the Punisher has been baited over and taken out. But those towers at least did help UConn get back to the position where they have a long time with a level lead. So once again, we see the same situation that we saw after the last Shrine phase. UConn could be very aggressive, steal all of the mercenary camps, and Cal Berkeley just has to go back to their lanes and try to get whatever experience they can to make sure they're not on the back foot in the next Shrine.
Gotta agree with you, Gilly, there. I do want to say they did have a great defense there. They did bait the Punisher in just enough there, and they dispatched of it very, very quickly Berkeley. Their keep actually didn't take much damage either. So yeah, I agree with the plan. Just soak what you can here. Make sure you're not on the back foot for the next try and just kind of float around, play safe. If I'm Sage mode though, I'm being a little bit careful. This Sage mode right here has been focused a majority of this game here. It seems like the Gara isn't the choice anymore for UConn. It's Sage mode, constantly being a little bit further here, trying to grab whatever experience he can. And you see Falstad and Zeratul always sharking, looking around, trying to grab him.
I kind of like this from UConn. Like one game it's one person and the next game it's the next. It's almost like, dude, why me? Why are you guys going ham on trying to take me out? And it's getting into their head. Like I love it.
Yeah.
It's like a mental advantage you gain over those opponents. You say, you know, they start second guessing themselves. Am I playing bad? But really, they're just kind of putting this extra emphasis on those individual heroes, and it's working beautifully. UConn trying to press that advantage with level 16 right now, considering the Golden Mishas are very close, but weakening this keep very indefinitely.
Getting a little bit of damage on there. Yeah, you're right.
Trying to find a mistake. This is kind of like yesterday in Dragonshire. They just kind of waited at the edge of the base, waited for their opponents to push on out, and then they struck with that huge power play.
Yeah, they always have the potential for Zeratul to blink in and throw it on Void Prison if they think they can separate some people out and keep them from being able to come to the aid of their teammates. But they didn't find it. The keep was successfully defended, and a shrine is going to activate. Thankfully, Berkeley have picked up 16, so they're going to have an even fight over this.
Yeah, I think the posturing and safety stance from UConn was okay. They didn't have crazy poke. They have Falstad and Thrall that can kind of work in there and get some damage on the keep, but I think I liked the posturing at least. They were being a little bit more aggressive than normal. But yeah, I agree. At some point, they're going to have to start breaking down that structure if they can. Now we have the entire team from Berkeley moving as a unit, trying to find a flank. And they may catch a Falstad here. Goes in for the damage. And that is a big win for Berkeley.
That is huge.
A big mistake by UConn. I mean, they illustrated that they were not together as a team by capturing that mercenary camp in the bottom left side of the map. And the moment that Cal Berkeley knew that, they put themselves in that super aggressive posture saying, look, they can't be 5. We know that for a fact. And they found, you know, the fresh bird out of his cage.
Okay, so UConn using this advantage, or disadvantage really, still trying to make the best of it. We're going to steal away some mercenary camps. They're pushing down some other lanes, even going after this towers, just to try to get them experience. If they could still just keep their experience lead, even though they did lose one person to Cal Berkeley, that's still going to be you know, it won't make it so bad. They're basically just mitigating the damage that they did
mitigating it. Once plan A doesn't work out for you, go for plan B. Plan B was grab experience and keep the lead here. Just deal with the Punisher safely here, and they have Thrall and Johanna already doing so. Danley McGree, though, is caught out of position, and that's big. More gathering power stacks going down, and Berkeley is starting to work together, and they're really saying, hey, we're not going down without a fight.
Gathering Power has gotten almost 0 benefit in this game. I don't think he's ever had more than 2 stats, which only amounts to 4% ability power. If you can't actually get advantage of it, this playstyle really does, it falls short.
Yeah, you're not able to chunk the opposing heroes, the Taeyuns and the Hampros, the Zagaras, and the Lee Mings, because you just don't have the damage to do so. Taeyun, though, coming up in the top left corner, going for Siryu.
And we see them
get away. They're
so aggressive because they know Zeratul's down. There's no threat of Void Prison. There's no threat of him randomly blinking in, taking out Lee Ming, and then just wormholing back. So they're able to make sure they got the full fort with that. They're finally putting their mark on this game. They're taking down some structures.
They still have a lot of ground to cover, though. They're full level down. Their bottom keep is actually rather vulnerable, and they weren't able to do any structural damage to the wall at all. So it's still a good defense from the Tricky Turtles, and now that Zeratul is back up, they can look to mount their offense.
Yeah, UConn at this point, you see them starting to realize they need to work together. Here you see already on the minimap, Johanna and Zeratul flooding down to Thrall and the rest of the team here, trying to help out. Sage mode, though, is in trouble. Will be forced to leap away.
Beautiful leap, though.
Yeah.
He dodged the gust just barely.
Leap, and then the Mystical Spear to get over the wall, too, back to the teammates. So staying alive, having to give up the mercenary camps, but it's also important that they don't give more experience to UConn. They're trying to catch up. They don't want to get further behind. They don't want to have an issue where they don't have 20, UConn has it, and they're in a shrine phase.
Gonna watch Tricky Turtles here as they try to get to level 20. The rest of the team of Berkeley, though, is grouping up, looking for a potential kill. Once again, they eyed Johanna for a second, but now Falstad looks like a tasty pickoff here, looking for the engage, but Saru and Monkey Lamps will prevent that from occurring. And Golden Mishas, although they're not getting anything right now, I like the play. They're trying to make something work out for them, because Gilly was mentioning earlier, they want to grab that experience, and getting a few kills will give you that experience that will get you closer to the goal of getting to level 20.
And this is also kind of like their one window.
Yeah.
UConn knew that if they got caught out of position sub 20, it's unfavorable for them. If they just wait a little while, they play passively, stick as a group, and have level 20, they have this guaranteed advantage in any team fight. And they're even leaving Johanna on her own, because she can get away from nearly anything, to soak that additional experience, and here's that that level 20.
Yep, that fort takedown will get it for them. They're going to keep on pushing here, just doing what they can. Similarly, Cal Berkeley, knowing that they are very behind, they may have to just give this shrine up to him.
Oh no, they're doing so much damage to that top keep, and the Golden Misha, this is a horrible trade for Cal Berkeley.
You can't trade out a fort for a keep.
I like the play from UConn. Berkeley realizing they're trying to push bottom there, wanting to grab that level 20. Maybe we can get a fort here. It helps them get there. But UConn says, all right, we'll ignore the shrine too. They keep pushing in and starts getting a little bit of damage on the keep. That forces all of Berkeley back to retreat and grab. And as soon as they see one member, the entire team from Tricky Turtles just moves all the way to the shrine and starts grabbing the objective.
Mega bonus props to Dan Lee because he actually went to the mid lane, realizing this is where this Mortar Punisher will actually end up pushing. So he managed to take out that entire wall, opening that. So if they manage to grab this is going to be a huge push. It's going to be very difficult for the Cal Berkeley to defend.
Overwatcher actually just bumped into Danley for 3, but I don't think he realized it, as Danley for 3 is looking for an opportunity to pick off an important member here of Berkeley. Berkeley does hit 20, but they're still both walking by Danley for 3.
Oh, I'm scared.
Of them just once again sneak on by. It's kind of hard to actually see that. There goes the UA here from Sage Mode. Danley for 3 showing up as well. He's floating behind. He's going to get on Taeon or Lim here. Goes in for the cleave, but the Void Prism was actually before the cleave, so he didn't get the damage in, but it still looks like it may be enough here as they're starting to apply damage. Botto is low, and there is the Mighty Gus pushing multiple members. Sage Mode is
what the save!
No!
Oh my goodness, they managed to just barely pick him off with that Singularity Spike of Dan Lee, but it was a very almost clutch save.
Almost a clutch save.
They have Singularity Spike, they have Rending Cleave too, so they can count on the damage coming in a little bit after, and that was fantastic. I mean, it almost looked like Cal Berkeley was going to turn that around, but now losing Sonya, they may lose Hampro too. They're trying to maybe catch Danley for 3, dodges the Stormbolt, Disintegrate, bringing him down. They do have Temporal Flux, so that will be a 40% slow on it, but still not being able to get Zeratul, and the Mortar Punisher is starting to go down the mid lane.
This could be it. This is a 4v5 push with a full health Punisher diving onto this keep. If we don't see very passive play, Danley is going to chunk through the health pool of those backline heroes and they're going to try to end here for sure.
Why not? Especially with Sonya not being available, it is a 5v4, especially with the Punisher. It's effectively a 6v4 at this point. The Punisher, though, is going to be a Mortar, and that's going to actually...
I'm so salty.
Back. Yeah, UConn, UConn, for a moment here, made us believe that they could be aggressive and go for the throat, but they go back to their old ways.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can't fault them for it.
No.
They've made it this far in the tournament. They're here on the Epic Gate playing their game. They've changed just enough to make us proud of them, and now they go back to their old ways. And you know what? That's fine. I just wish I would have seen a little bit more. Maybe even some damage on the core would have been good, but they take the passive play and pull back.
But Void Prison was down.
True.
Sonya was right about backup. They had all of their, well, they did not have Devouring Maw though, so that would have been different. Yeah, I don't know. They did bait it back.
It was like 15 seconds where they could have tried to force a mistake.
Yeah.
It's not even like overcommitting on the core. It's just you have this small window that you can utilize to try to force a mistake. If Berkeley does make that mistake and overextend, they lose the game.
Yeah, and to be fair, they do have to factor in the Li Ming factor. But here we go, Dan Lee for 3. Although he's died a few times this game, usually we only see him die once per game. I believe he's died 4 times this game, losing his Gathering Power stocks, but still making the plays with this character, putting just enough pressure on the opponents to really make them cause a few mistakes. He was sneaky in that last engagement as well. He changed up his style just enough to make sure they could secure a takedown. They got Sage Mode with the help of Falstad, so the team just working together. Dan Lee for 3 helping lead this team to victory.
Yeah, he's died 3 times, but the minute you pick up Gathering Power, you put a giant target on your back for people to try to take you out.
He's got 1 stack of GP right now.
Poor buddy.
Overwatch coming in though. Golden Misha's going for some aggression here. The Mighty Gus will push them against the wall here. Overwatch trying to help out Taeyu, and it's being focused down. He does get the Disintegrate down, and Torino will get killed off. And now the reset is available here for Taeyu, and he's trying to hit. He's unfortunately missing his skill shots, but still, that's a big win here for the Golden Mishas.
They're able to take out Falstad, and like this is the issue sometimes you do get into when you like to be going for the safe win, is that it does allow the potential for your opponents to get a big team fight and come back. But Mercenaries pushing in every single lane. It's going to be able to potentially even take out this top keep as Hampro trying to just take out that Fallen Shaman. A Shrine is activating. It's 33 seconds, but Falstad, the minute he comes back, can fly to his team.
Look what UConn's doing. They're forcing the issue in this bottom lane. They know that the entire enemy team is going to be postured all the way in top, so they're rotating down to eliminate this very, completely vulnerable core.
Well, we do have Hampro, though, staying back, so it looks like Cal Berkeley has kind of caught this play. They understood that it could have happened, so they're leading them back with the Devouring Maw. Hampro does take some damage, starting to retreat away. I like that he didn't panic there. Uther showing up to help out as well, but a keep still goes to UConn, even though they had 4 members in the area. The defense from Berkeley was a little bit lackluster. Now Bato is getting focused down. Now remember, he is Johanna using Iron Skin and Safeguard. He will retreat, but Cal Berkeley is in for the chase. Watch for Falstad. We'll see where he's going to fly.
Yeah, they know they have to start getting pretty aggressive. They've lost 2 keeps. They've nearly lost a third. In fact, the third has just gone down. So they're really out of options. They need to win a big team fight here and then make something happen.
Oh, the Shrink Ray.
All UConn has to do is try to get away.
Unfortunately, Shrink Ray being used there. The Mighty Gus will push back the main targets here, and Danley for 3 gets a huge cleave on 3 members. There's a maul from Hampro grabbing a few players. You do see all of UConn, though, spreading out, waiting for Suryu. There is a Sundering hitting 2 members, 3 members. Sreo trying to run away from Taiyun as Taiyun's going in for the damage. He will get the kill, which will earn him a reset. Danley for 3, though, comes in. He's going to get Sage Mode. No, the Divine Shield, and Danley for 3 gets turned around on a huge slam.
Wow, I cannot believe how clutch that Divine Shield was. Now Chiruno is in trouble, and Cal Berkeley knows it. There they're going. They've caught him. They're slowing him down. They're chasing him into a choke. He barrel rolls away, but Tan is on the chase. Mighty Gust must come out to continue the save. He's at least distracting for a long time for his team.
And the core actually has a couple of catapults currently hitting it. It still has a shield, but it is getting low on HP. This chase is actually going on for a little bit too long, in my opinion. We've wasted a good 10 to 15 seconds. Shrink Ray will go down, and finally we'll see Falstad being taken care of, but Johanna sneaks up to the top left, grabs a couple of a little bit of damage on those minions. Unfortunately, not getting one quite yet. But now, again, there are 3 keeps down for Berkeley. The pressure is on them to perform.
Some really interesting things happened. Actually, Thrall backed away from that last hit. We'll watch it all here. So we saw that this actual blink forward for the Maw, which enabled the turnaround here on the side of the Golden Mishas. We saw Thrall in the backline barely staying alive, and he had missed the last hit due to the Divine Shield. But dominance, this entire build here for Li Ming, allowed them to turn this around. Every kill they got gave her 25% of her health. She propelled herself forward and basically carried that fight. Also, being able to teleport in right on top of Thrall just dealt so much damage. It also brought her right into range to be able to catch him too, and that was very key. And although, yes, Falstad did delay Cal Berkeley from coming up to this, it's still, he died so far after his team that it was a delayed timer. So now he will be back up, but this Arcane Punisher is going to be going to the top keep. It's very fortuitous for Cal Berkeley that it is at least in the top and going to be headed to the keep. Are they cord diving? This is some weird positioning.
You may have to do it.
Right now they have the medevac. They could actually fly as a team to the core.
They're going for
it.
it.
It's flying. They're going in.
And I think UConn wins this, actually. They have a lot of pressure here. Berkeley will probably have to come back and defend this, but Danley for 3 is here to slow down all the members here of Berkeley. Here we go, the aggression. The core is being hit upon here, and it's only Li Ming. That's game. UConn goes for the kill. I love it. They did it in game number 2.
You know, the power of medevac, if you ever forget about it, if you don't respect its presence, that's what happens. They weren't at all thinking about that being a scenario, and their lanes were pushed out. UConn saw the opportunity, they took it.
Yeah, the medevac was used almost not at all during the entirety of that game. So suddenly it kind of falls off your subconscious that it could be an issue. And then when it matters the most, we saw the medevac used here by UConn.
They're playing the long game.
The long game.
Well, yeah, it's most often it is stim drone that's grabbed. So it's something that you can definitely forget about too. So great job by UConn. They're going to get a 2-0. Cal Berkeley, I felt, looked a lot better in that game. Really started to come back. Without medevac, maybe they even could have gone after the core, but man, what a game.
Congratulations to the Tricky Turtles. UConn will be our first team to advance into the Final Four. And I gotta say, they have to be so relieved after last year. They got so far, didn't quite make it there, but this year, they've done it.
Well, let's check out a couple of replays from that game from UConn and see what exactly they did here to achieve victory. The aggression was enough from the team here. We did have Morales getting picked off there, but when it came to the mid-game, they started really working together, finding those prime targets. Danley for 3 was great. You know, Berkeley did come out fighting, though. I'm proud of them. They came out and got a couple of kills, a couple of takedowns. We love to see the pressure. The game was much closer than it was in game number 1. It felt like they actually had a chance here. Even here, again, going in mid-game, they were starting to get a couple kills, but Danley for 3 and the rest of the crew were able to put enough pressure on the team to break them down. Now, really quick, we do have a little announcement. If you remember remember RPSD, a player from UConn last year, he had some unfortunate family circumstances that prevented him from playing from school that semester, which created some issues for his team and forced UConn to be disqualified. So we're going to make RPSD an honorary member of the UConn team this year and fly him out to the finals. If UConn wins the entire tournament, RPSD will also get $10,000 scholarship to help him continue his education. So huge congratulations to UConn here, and RPSD, we can't wait to see you, man. Let's go ahead and go into an interview with Bato here
That
for
is
UConn.
so awesome.
Freaking awesome.
It's pretty awesome, man. So, Bato, can you hear us? Hello?
Yeah, how's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going, man? Congratulations, man. You are the first team to go to the Heroic Four. How does it feel?
Woo!
A perfect response, man. Last year for you guys, it was a little bit unfortunate with 2015. 2016 is a new ball game for you. How are you going to start preparing? You have a couple of weeks. What is your mindset for the team, and how much are you going to practice?
We need to practice around mind control. That is not fun.
Yeah, for you at home that don't know, there will be a new patch coming out this week, actually, or I believe next week. Either way, there's a new patch coming out.
Soon.
It's very, very soon that will have to really change the game, the landscape of the entire game for the Heroic Four. So good luck with that practice, man.
Thank you.
So yesterday you guys seemed to have a little bit of a very passive play style. Actually, this entire tournament, you guys are always just kind of waiting for the optimal moments, always being very patient. But today we saw you a little bit more willing to invade the enemy team's side of the map and really bring the pressure to them. Is this something that you guys discussed last night after the games to make adjustments for the games? And how do you feel about the two styles comparatively?
We think they're both good. This one's there was more shouting on that last game, but it was good because it's a quicker win. We don't have to wait and be patient. And then we always kind of had this for the whole medivac. You're not going to necessarily use it that much, but in circumstance, if they're pushing with objective, you can fly to the opposite keep, which is why we made sure that we got bot keep and try and just go for the win. And then wind tunnel. Wind tunnel so good.
Wind
for the
tunnel was
play.
surprising for me. You guys made a lot of things happen both in game 1 and game number 2, and it never seemed to be a scenario where you won the entire game off of it, but you got 1 or 2 pickoffs, which allowed for you to play the control style that you guys do so well. That was a cool pickup, man. Are you guys gonna do it more often?
Yeah, so yesterday, Falstead, I don't remember all of it, but we couldn't get Falstead in one of the games, or both of them, I don't recall.
Cool.
And so we've always liked, instead of Epic Mount, Wind Tunnel, because it gives you the option of backdooring really hard and just wind tunneling them into their well and being like, all right, give me 4 seconds to really rush your core. Yeah, so.
Cool. I like the strategy, man. Gilly, do you have anything for him?
Yeah, Bato, I would love to hear how you guys, what comms were like in that second draft when it started going so much like the first one. Were you guys really happy about that, or what was the feel?
So last night we were doing scrims and we had that composition. We're like, all right, Johanna, Leoric will win the wave clear. I think Jake, or I don't remember who, was saying, Dan was talking about how we weren't wave clearing enough. So we made sure we had the wave clear, and so we were kind of all right with it because of the objective in Infernal Shrines is, killing minions. Mm-hmm. So we're like, it could go this way, but then we saw, looking at their draft, kind of a lack of ability to get on medics. So we're like, all right, Blessed Shield, Wind Tunnel, VP, medic's never going to die, we're never going to die. We died, but...
Were you guys worried about Leap? When you saw that come out, was that ever a consideration?
We kind of liked it. So if she aggressively leaps, we're gonna VP, Leeming, Zara, Uther, and then just Blessed Shielder and then Burster. It was scary, especially that last fight down bot by Siege. So I don't know. It worked out though.
Very cool. Well, we love hearing from you. A huge congratulations to you and the rest of UConn. Congratulations, and of course, get ready for the Heroic Four, man. You guys are going.
Get ready for hugs in Seattle.
Well, I'll give you some hugs. So thanks again, man. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. What a wonderful guy, man. I love talking to him. All right, guys, the next match that will be coming up is Washington versus Tennessee. Another electrifying match that you'll have to keep an eye on. Washington's been looking very dominant lately, but Tennessee has been making a few plays of their own, so it's going to be a good one. Go to heroesofthestorm.com and heroesofthedorm.com to find more information about the actual tournament. We'll be coming back right after this quick commercial break.